Hey Central, it's me, FoodCorps Finley. And I was in class the other day and someone asked me, what did you do before FoodCorps? And I said, I worked on a farm, but I didn't really have time to explain. And then thinking about it afterwards, I was like, maybe they would like to know about what I did before FoodCorps and what it's like to work on a farm. So I'm going to tell you all about a journey I had this winter, some traveling, and some volunteering on farms that I did. So here we go. This is Farm Travels with FoodCorps Fin, Volume 1, because there may be more. So here we go. Why travel? Why did I choose to leave my home, go to a different place I had never been to before? Well, I had finished school a couple years ago and I hadn't yet gotten this job here in La Grande, so I had some freedom, and I've enjoyed traveling before because I've always found that I have so many experiences, I make so many memories, and I usually end up seeing the world a little differently by seeing it through the perspective of a new place. And often that perspective allows me to see myself differently too. I've always gotten a lot from traveling and meeting new people and seeing new things. So that's why I chose to do it this past winter. I hope you guys are lucky enough to get to do some traveling as well. And why did I choose to volunteer? And why on a farm? Why would I spend my energy and my labor without getting paid and get all dirty and stuff on a farm? Well, I find that when you go traveling, you can go see some tourist attractions. You can see the sights and stay in hotels and all. But it's kind of a one-sided interaction. When I volunteer, I give back. And I also get so much from the people that I volunteer for. They give me knowledge and they give me experience and all that. And so we build this relationship. And I find that much more fulfilling than just kind of going and seeing things. And why a farm? Well, often when we travel, we go to big cities or other cool places, which are also a lot of fun. But when we go to a farm, I find you get a great view of what life is really like in that place. You see what the land is like, the kinds of things that they cook, and just what the pace of the day is like, what their culture is. So that's why when I go traveling, I love to volunteer, and why I like to do it on a farm. I always found it a really cool way to travel. It's also a cheap way to travel. So when I did this past winter, I did it through an organization called WOOF, or Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. And they're an organization that connects folks like myself who want to volunteer with organic farms around the world who need help. And you can see all those countries in green down here. These are all the places that have farms where you can volunteer, which is pretty amazing. So I sat in front of this map and thought, where do I want to go? And I had never been to Europe, and I was pretty interested about what it's like over there. And I also spoke some Spanish and wanted to get better. So I chose to go to Spain. So I went from up here in the northwest of the United States across the country, across the Atlantic Ocean by plane, and went to Spain. And a particular part of Spain, I went to a place called Catalonia, which is in the far northeastern corner of Spain, right up next to France and right next to the Mediterranean Sea. It's a really interesting part of Spain, too, because it's sort of its own particular region. They have their own language and their own culture and their own identity. So it's a very unique part of Spain. And I think I heard it was very beautiful. So you can also see on this map that little pink star. That's where my farm was. So it was right up close to France in the foothills of the Pyrenees Mountains. And I found this farm called Planeses Agricultura Regenerativa, which means pastures. And what they practice is called regenerative agriculture. So the purpose of this farm was to regenerate the soil and to make it healthier through agriculture. And I wanted to go to this farm because they were a commercial farm. They were doing business, and I kind of wanted to see what it was like to run a commercial farm. And I thought the area looked really beautiful. Um, so yeah, I chose this farm. I sent a message, and then they said, "Yeah, come." And these were the bosses at the farm, the jefe and jefa. That's Mark and Edurne, and they are both from Barcelona, and really, really, really nice people. And they spoke some English, but not a lot. So I really had to work on my Spanish to be able to communicate with them. And of course, because they're from Catalonia, they speak their own language, Catalan, which I also didn't know. And so I had to learn a little bit of that too. And on this farm, they had hens or gallinas. And from those hens, they got hueves or eggs, which they sold at the local market. They also had vacas or cows. And they got from the cows milk, leche, and also cheese or queso. And both of those things they also sold. There was also pollos or chickens. And the chickens were raised for their meat, the carne, and also for their stock or caldo, which is a mixture that you make when you boil other parts of the chicken, and it makes a very flavorful liquid that you can use to cook with. But also from these pollos, we got another thing. And they lived in these little mobile chicken coops that they called chicken tractors. And it gives them a place to shelter from the rain and all. And when they're there, they eat the grass and they eat the bugs that are in the soil. And as they eat, they poop. And the poop is really, really good for the soil. It adds nutrients to the soil, and it actually helps the grass grow better. So they were regenerating or making the soil healthier by having these chickens there. So every day I would go out into the fields and move these mobile chicken tractors down the field so that there was new grass for the chickens to feed on every day, and that helped the grass grow. And of course there was El Perro, or the dog, that protected the chickens from other creatures of the forest. And when I got there, they gave me this room to stay in, or mi dormitorio. It was very simple, but it was just what I needed. And that little room was in this small house, this little shack, or mi casita, my little house, that even had solar panels. And it was actually rather comfortable. And here's that store that they had in town where they sold a lot of their products, like their chicken and milk and cheese and the chicken broth and a bunch of other vegetables from other farmers. So when I was there, I really got to feel what life was like on a farm and what life is like in this part of Catalonia. I woke up early with the dawn every morning, spent all day outside with the other farm workers, and got to learn what their life is like and their language and all those things. And sometimes the work was really hard. Sometimes it was really dirty, really muddy, and long hours of doing things that maybe I didn't want to do. Sometimes the animals would rip up my clothing. But other times the work was really lovely, and I got to be around cute little animals like these chicks or this baby bunny, and I got to help care for them and raise them, and that was really, really enjoyable for me. Yeah. So sometimes the work was hard, sometimes it was easy, and always unexpected and new. And in the afternoons, I got to explore the nearby towns when I wasn't working. This was El Pueblo, or the town nearby. It was called Argelaguer, and it was a very, very old village, sort of a rural village, and it looked so different from any town I had been in before. This is one of the main streets, or La Calle, the main street. And you can see how small it is, because this was a very, very old village and built for people before there were cars. So it was just really, really interesting to see that. This was another village that was very close by called Besalu, another extremely old village and so beautiful. All the houses kind of fit together, and old churches and things, and especially this old bridge, which was built in 1111, which was over 1,000 years ago, and it was built by the Romans when the Roman Empire was in this part of Spain, which was just crazy to me, but really exciting to see that kind of history in this area. I also would hike in the mountains, up trails through the forest to other churches or other villages, and kind of see what this forest was like in this part of the world. And I got to know some of the local plants that were growing in those mountains, like wild rosemary or el romeo, which is a very flavorful herb that I used to cook with when I was there. And I used that rosemary and all of the ingredients of the farm that they gave to me so that I could eat when I was there. And I learned to cook some of the things that they eat in Spain. So you might have heard of a tortilla, but in Spain they make tortillas not out of flour like they do in Mexico or Central America, but they make them out of potato and egg. So they call it tortilla de papa, or like a little potato cake. And I also ate lots of bread. The other things at the farm that they gave me to eat were the pollo, the chicken, and the yogurt from the cows, and also some rice. So this is like another sort of simple farm meal that I learned to cook. And then, of course, another Spanish cuisine item would be tapas, which is like a meal made of many small plates, which I thought was so fun. Just like many little things that you eat at once. And yeah, that was so tasty. Oh, and then my favorite were churros, like these little fried sugary dough things that you stick into like a chocolatey sauce. And oh man, yeah, that was a real favorite as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing some photos from my travels. I had a great time, obviously, and I learned so much about this place and also about what it's like to live on a farm and how our food is grown and raised. And so I'm asking you, where would you go? Where will you go when you travel and you have the freedom to go do these things? It's fun to dream about all the places that you could go and what you could learn there. So thanks for watching. I really enjoyed telling you about it, and there might be some more videos like this coming soon because I have traveled and worked at some other places as well. So thanks for listening. Hope you have a good day, and I'll see you soon.